changed since you were first elected?
Well, in terms of communication, when I came here in 1993, we did not have internet. So office to office it wasn't used, office to outside it wasn't used. In fact, fax machines were just coming. So you had fax machines as one of the new technologies and ways to communicate with a member of Congress. And then cable television did not have any of the political talk shows. The Hannity-Cohn show, for example, was not on the air. And so if you wanted to see political dialogue, it was Meet the Press, the kind of the old standard Sunday talk shows that competed against NFL football, and nobody watched them.
Okay. What are your views on the stimulus bill?
Well, I think it's a lost opportunity. It would have been a great time to reduce spending, to give small businesses where 70% of the jobs come from, give them tax breaks so that they could go out and expand and create new jobs. I think it was an opportunity to look at some of the federal programs that are out there and say, well, which ones aren't efficient? Which ones should we actually cut or eliminate? And if there are some that would create jobs, could we put money in there? But instead, the $790 billion package created 31 new federal programs, expanded hundreds of other ones, and only put 13% in direct job creating programs such as building bridges and dams and roads.
Okay, and the president wants to reform health care. What do you think about this plan?
Well, when Washington gets in the business of something, what we have seen, the government takes over, there's lots of rules and regulations, and they always try to skew the regulations to favor a federal program over a private program. So the federal intervention squeezes out the private sector. In countries that have socialized medicine, England, Canada, Germany, and so forth, they have rationing, they have a shortage of medical innovation, MRIs and newer equipment, new technologies. They do not have that. The government's slower to come up with new ideas. And so I think the president's approach is absolutely wrong.
Okay. And what do you think that we should do about Guantanamo Bay?
I don't think we should close it. I think it's a great facility to have a place that's offshore that you could put the detainees and keep them away from Americans, keep them out of war. It's a good geographic location. We've processed 500 prisoners there who've been sent back to their homes, sent back to other host countries. 12% of them have actually found their way back to the battlefield. What we're debating now is what to do with 240-ish who still remain. These are very bad people. These are the worst of the worst. They want to kill Americans. That's why they're in Guantanamo Bay. And for the president to want to bring them to American soil and give them constitutional rights as if they were Americans and trials is ridiculous. It's just irresponsible.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about the purpose of the Media Fairness Caucus that you're co-chairing?
Well, the idea behind it is that there seems to be a real media slant towards the left. For example, some of the leading magazines, Newsweek and Time, if you look at the number of stories they had that were pro-Obama versus John McCain, number one, they give the Democrats more coverage, and then when they give the coverage to them, they're more favorable. And so what we try to do is track that and tell members, well, which magazines, which newspapers, which television shows will give you a fair shake, and which ones will not.
Okay. And why did you decide to co-chair this?
Well, I've been interested in it for a long time, having served in Congress now for 17 years. It's unbelievable the times that I've been in the room when a vote took place, a debate took place, an amendment was presented or whatever, and then I'll read about it the next day and it's totally misconstrued by the media. There's not even a pretense of accuracy. So, yeah, you just get sick of it after a while. You know, our job is to try to make the world a better place, and if the Democrats have the idea, we want to support it. But if the Republicans have the idea, it should be supported as well. Often the media bias makes sure that there's not a fair playing field for the presentation of new ideas.
Okay, and why do you think that the media has become so one-sided?
I would love to know. I think as a rule, many journalists start out idealistic and even balanced, and then they get inside the the existing infrastructure, and the infrastructure is very anti-conservative, anti-middle class values, anti-traditional values. And so to move up the ladder, they find themselves compromising themselves and getting in that cultural clique. I also don't think most journalists cross-pollinate with normal people. I think they cover stories, but then they talk to each other. They don't really go out there in different settings and talk to people and look at things from a different angle. Another thing is very few of them have a real business background. And to run a business which employs people, provides people health care, provides customers with goods and services, you have to understand a big picture. And I think a lot of journalists have never worked in business, so they don't appreciate business. Their view of business comes from Hollywood, which is, you know, a story in its own self in terms of a leftward tilt.
Okay, last question is, I know that it's early, but do you have any thoughts or predictions on 2010 elections?
Well, I kind of do, and I'll tell you why. We have an $11 trillion national debt right now. If you look at the series of spending bills, you mentioned the $790 billion stimulus bill. In addition to that, there was a $410 billion omnibus bill that we passed. Each and every appropriation bill this year seems to be having at least a 10% increase. It's going to leave young people with a huge debt, which will lead to inflation and loss of the values of some of these things, higher taxes, borrowing more money from foreign countries. So there's a lot of problems that are going to happen, but right now the American public, if you will, hasn't really tuned in to the degree that I think they will a year from now. And I think when they see what's been going on and spending that hits them all at once, people are going to be shocked, and it would give conservatives, I think, a great opportunity.